Hey guys, Fire King results aren't quite what you expected, and Lightsworn pile is a thing. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. Kong's Cards just had their first post-legacy, post-new ban list tournament, and these results are actually, they're going to leave a lot to be shown out here. I'm not going to lie, like, this top 16 is actually crazy. So, we had 5 Tempi Dragon decks in your top 16, which is a insane turnover. You might not want to believe this, but maybe that deck is king. We only had 2 Fire King decks in top 16. For 70 players for playing in this, that kind of tells me some very interesting things. They didn't even top 4 out of this event. We did have 2 Yubel decks, which I'm actually kind of happy to see. Yubel's actually kind of progressively gotten a little bit better here. We did have a Lightsworn pile, which is actually kind of cool. Labyrinth, Voiceless Voice, Melodious, a Runic Stun Duelist still sitting here at the table, Snake Eyes, and some Buster Blader. Rocket Buster Blader, but Borreload Savage is gone. Top 8 here. We did have 4 Tempi Dragons. That means that your Tempi conversion rate for this top cut is actually kind of insane to think about out here. That they were able to take up half of the top cut. And I'm kind of wondering if this is going to be a very continuous effort out here. That you're going to be seeing Tempi Dragons, you know, being this very strong challenger for quite some time. We'll have to wait and see, but that's a scary thought. We did have one of our Yubel decks manage to make their way on into top 8. We also had the Lightsworn pile placing in top 4, which is absolutely amazing to see. Don't worry, we have our Labyrinth Duelists. They did manage to climb into the upper half of the tournament, which is good. And we had 1 Fire King Duelist in top 8, which is actually crazy to think about your conversion turnover rate for this event, that these are the numbers that you're looking at for some very early data. Let's pass on over to those deck lists. Winning our event is none other than Tempi Dragons actually sporting off Santa Claus, actually. There's actually a really cool little innovation in here. And you do see, I see we have Necro Valley in here as well. Okay, and even Zombie World as well. The interactions that Ancient Fairy Dragon gives you in this deck, the ability to rotate through some of these very strong options that, you know, the OTK monster that this deck is can actually do is actually very, very interesting. So I'm very excited to continue to see more results for this. All right, moving on along here, we have more Tempi Dragons getting second place out here. Showcasing, guess what? Ye old Necro Valley yet again. So that's 2 builds out here that chose to play this. We do have the Triple Gravekeeper's Inscription doing their job. Yes, interesting. And of course, looks like we really have moved in to that Ancient Fairy Dragon territory out here doing its thing, which is actually pretty cool to see. Yet again, the Heat Waves doing their job. I wonder why. All right, next up here, we do have our Yubel sporting off the Ultimate Nightmare. I really, really do like this card actually seeing play. You do see that we can safely play the Soul Releases. Now, the fact that the meta has gotten to the point that we can just kind of return back to this and be able to do our thing is really, really nice. We do have the Skill Drains in here as well, doing the ever so loving no fun allowed for the opponent. Yes, our favorite thing. That's pretty basic stuff. All right, next up here, we have our 60-card Lightsworn pile. Sporting off the Samsara Lotus, you do see we still are doing Crimson Gaia plays. You're able to toggle through, make Dissipator now, the Chaos Angel. You don't have Baron, but that's fine. You are very easily able to make the Thunder Dragon Colossus and punish your opponent on these nice little soft loops, as we're going to call them for this deck. And the hand-ripping innovations of Darkest Diabolsis actually mattering is kind of crazy. Good stuff. Moving on into top 8 here, we have more Zongdora and friends. Fact that you still are seeing this deck do its thing. Once again, we are still seeing some more Necro Valley action. This build did take a little different of an approach, though. We did try out Remus down here. We are playing the Baby Rock, so we can kind of make some different little synchro lines. You do have access to Gate Urge, which is actually kind of cool. I hadn't really considered, you know, trying out things like this, but I do like that. And you do see the different dimension ground down here actually popping up and being relevant. Okay. And then, of course, we do have our Labyrinth Duelist in here, actually playing a Rivalry of the Warlords here, which is actually pretty good. See the Full Force Virus. You do see the Black Goat Lass. Very, very strong cards. only one Phantasme. But this right here, I think this is going to be one of the best tech choices you can kind of find yourself playing out here. The ability to make sure that your opponent can't interfere with you at all. Thank you, Dark Barrier Statue. Being able to slam down this card actually matters a lot. And then we have more Tempi Dragons. This build actually was playing the where there's a will, there's a way out. I actually do like this. This does kind of give some interesting deck innovation out here. Being able to filter for some of your more major options is really good. You do see Dimensional Barrier out here kind of turning on in to one of these power cards. Being able to make sure that you can filter and see this card in the mirror match just guarantees you an entire turn skip. So not only do you have, Heat Wave, you also have the Dimensional Barrier here for that. All right, and our last top 8 member here is our Fire King deck. Wow. I do see that we are playing Nemesis Corridor in here, which is actually really cool, especially when you're doing some of these more modern era combo lines for this deck. Being able to actually make a Thunder Dragon Colossus actually can get you some pretty interesting places. And, you can relatively easily have this loaded up now, mid-combo, to make the Colossus is actually pretty good. And, of course, I still do see some old friends here along the way. So that's our top 8. Moving on into top 16. Yes, our one voiceless voice duelist, still playing the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon package down here. Something that I do think we'll continue to explore because of the brand diffusion stuff. You do see the Black Goat Laughs down here starting to be showcased a lot more. You do have the innovation of the one blessings of the voiceless voice. Very easy stuff. And, of course, you gotta love the one anti-spell fragrance in here for the absolute guaranteed value. You love to see it. All right, and then we also have, hey, look. It's Snake Eyes Value Town. I see we are playing one copy of the Snake Eyes Diabellstar in here. I think this is one of the only real innovations that this deck has. You still are able to go through like the full combo lines, but you really gotta make sure what you're doing in here. You do see that we are citing the Fucho. Kind of don't have a choice. If Tempi Dragons is coming after you, you're going to need the Fucho to guarantee the turn, at least get back to you. And only 2 dimensional barriers. That's a little bit rough. I figured you might want to try to optimize and try a little bit more of that, but okay. And then, of course, our Melodious player. This card, the Tam Tam, for the poly in the it's nuts. I also see that they also only chose to play 2 copies of Concert. I do know a lot of people do find this card to be a little bit of a brick, so I can get behind the 2. One of the coolest innovations for this deck was actually the Power Sync Stone and being able to trigger this very, very easily against the opponent. Setting up the free counter on this and then having your opponent blow 1, absolutely guaranteed. And then we have our Runic deck. So, we have to go back to playing Scrubbed Raid now, which is really disappointing because of Synchro Zone being a real pain in the butt. You are kind of forced to do this. You do see the Floodgate value in here as well. And this build did choose to play a Jowgen with actual card destruction. I'm kind of intrigued by that. And, yes, the Grave of the Ancient Organisms. I do think that this is going to be a very strong Floodgate going forward here, but we'll have to wait and see. And, more Tempi Dragons. Once again, another build showing off the where there's a will, there's a way. I'm going to love that. It's definitely a crazy value. You also see, hey, look, we can thrust on into the dimensional barrier out here. So you're guaranteed to get that value off against your opponent. But once again, you do see another showcasing out here of Heat Wave doing Heat Wave things to guarantee you the absolute, I love my turns. All right. Hey, look. By the way, this actually did play a 14-card side deck before you're like, wait, what? We are playing the 1 copy of the Snake Eyes Diabellstar. Do keep in mind that this is pure Snake Eyes. This build actually main decking the Evenleads and the skill drains here. Kind of ensure that you can get the value that you need to along the way. And of course, we are playing a Change of Heart in here. Actually, this was kind of cool to see. I definitely enjoyed the value of this quite a lot in this tournament. So good stuff. But outside of that, I mean, your value for this was incredible. And then, of course, Buster Blader. I didn't actually think the Buster Blader would be a viable option out here, but I was kind of wrong. Guess what? Buster locking your opponent. Hey, dragon monsters cannot activate their effects. So we just go ahead and make this in the Tempi Dragon matchup, and you get the freest value out of the world with this. Okay, I do see, yes, we also get access to the Borderland. You get everything that you want in the standard Dragon Link package, but with 99% more Buster Blader. consider. And the last list we have for you here is more Belt, kind of showcasing, this is kind of rough that this got top 16, but you are playing a Gates of the Dark World in here, so you can actually play Set Rotation. Set Rotation actually turning into an insane card this form. I didn't actually realize the Field Spell Wars are back, and Set Rotation, getting the chance to force a bad field spell onto your opponent, is actually really, really good to see. So we got some very early good tech choices here. So, what do you guys think? Check out our friends over at Kong's Cards. Use discount code MCO40 and save on your purchase. You guys have a good rest of your day. All right? Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.